And that's what he said. So just be checking your bank account, OG San.
Yeah, and actually, you know what, OG, if you want to check out KUM.com, I'll try and find that for you and everything like that.
Right.
But hit up our website right now.
Yeah.
We've got a story. It's like within the last 2 days.
Thanks. 7:33 into the KUM News Zoom room we go, where Dr. Ann Pobutsky, who's the territorial epidemiologist, is standing by here. Good morning, Dr. Ann.
Good morning.
Let's just get right into it. So I was talking earlier, PCOR 3, we've been here before, and last time we were in PCOR 3, it didn't turn out so well. There was a crazy surge, and I just felt like people, I mean, if they were pent up back then, imagine how pent up they are now. So we'll just kind of start there with this declaration of PCOR 3 and the vaccination effort. I feel like a lot of people are thinking it's over. So I'll just start there. First question, is COVID over?
No, it's not. PCOR 3, people shouldn't be that pent up right now because they're allowed to go outside to the parks and the beaches and exercise and go get groceries and et cetera, et cetera. PCOR 3 is where they're going to lift even more restrictions and possibly include, and I don't know the details, but yes, it didn't turn out too well the last time, but we are seeing lower numbers. We're at 7,705 cases. Yesterday we had 2 cases. And in the past couple of days, some of those new cases were people coming in, military contractors, that sort of thing. And that's what we've seen throughout January and February, that the majority of the cases are well, not the majority, more than half are coming in. They're bringing it in. And the other issue is the variant. We don't know what's going on with the variants. It's already been found in Hawaii, one of the variants. I believe it's the UK variant. We have been submitting samples to the CDC for the past several weeks. We have not gotten any results back for Guam to see what's circulating here. We're also in the process of writing grants so that we can see if we can get a machine to do the molecular sequencing of the samples to see what's circulating here. And we, as of last night, I just looked at the numbers. We have vaccinated fully 2 doses, 8.99% of our population, so 9%, which is really, really good. So we're looking really, really great. Guam looks great. We're off the charts in terms of our vaccination rates. But the problem right now is the supply chain. That's a national problem. I guess they didn't get one shipment in, and they're expected, it's expected in March. So we still need to vaccinate a substantial proportion of our population so that we can lower the amount of viral load that's out there. And that's called herd immunity or population immunity. And one of the reasons we want to do that is there's some people who, I have a friend who hasn't gotten vaccinated. She's certainly eligible. She's older and she's allergic to all kinds of things. And she's one of the, the small groups of vulnerable people who get allergic reactions, who need to be protected by this disease. So we have to get a substantial proportion of the population vaccinated. For some things like measles, it requires about 95% of the population to be vaccinated. And that's what our big issue was right before COVID hit, was making sure we had our measles vaccination plan in place because we were seeing it in the Pacific. And of course, a couple years ago, American Samoa had an outbreak because people were scared of getting vaccinated. But that's why we have these rules about kids being vaccinated before they get into schools. Right. We just don't know right now what proportion of the population needs to be vaccinated against COVID. It's got to be about 80% or above, we think. We don't know. And I guess people will figure that out as we go along. So we're at 9% of the population being fully vaccinated. We've got quite a ways to go.
So no, it's not over.
No, you still have to wear a mask. Still have to social distance. We don't know what's still circulating out there, what's going to be brought in. We're in a good place right now because our numbers are so low, but there's always the possibility that, again, someone can bring it in or they lift the regulations and then people start bringing it in. So we're poised to deal with it, but we hope people will continue. You still have to social distance. You still have to wear a mask till, everybody gets vaccinated or the majority. So no, it's not over. It looks like it's over, but it's not. Sorry, these things last usually a couple years, and it's only been a year, not quite a year. But they already got a vaccine rolled out. But we don't know exactly how these vaccines work against these different variants because of the mutations going on all over the world, which is normal for viruses.
Let's just talk about that then, the variants. So what can you tell us about the different variants? And also, if you could expand on what you had just said about whether or not the vaccines protect us against the different variants.
I believe you guys can just Google this. I don't know that much except what's in the media. There was a recent article that said Pfizer was good at protecting people from one or more of the variants. We just don't know. We don't even know what's circulating on Guam at this point in time. So that's why we're being vigilant and trying to see what's coming in here. And some of the samples that we have sent to the CDC have been from travelers who have come in, and from local samples, as well as I believe from the U.S., travelers from the U.S. and from Manila, possibly some from, I don't know if it was Japan or Korea. They're trying to get a good sampling of positive samples that they can send for sequencing. And again, we don't know the results. We should see something in a week or so. Okay. But we said that 2 weeks ago.
I know.
And here's the other thing. We have a new administration. Biden's trying to churn out the vaccines, and CDC is trying to do sequencing of everything that's circulating around the United States as well as its territories. So we should know more March. It's almost the end of February, so March, will it be a year marker?
Doc, what do you think about this conversation that's being had about tightening up on exemptions? Quarantine exemptions for incoming passengers, and everyone we talk to says this is because we need to protect ourselves against the variants.
That is correct. We have to have policies in place that keep us all safe. We're an island. It's going to come back in. It came into the island. It wasn't generated here. It came in, remember? Last March, February, March, April, and then again in July and August. So that's our biggest problem. It's going to come in again. And so we'll just have to be vigilant and have policies that continue to keep us all safe, and then continue vaccinating everybody as soon as we get the vaccines. And that might take up through the summer. They were suggesting in the U.S. maybe July, August, just in time for school again in the fall. Perhaps we might be there.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Doc, when we talk about the variant, because we did Google it, and what everybody says is that it's so many more times contagious when compared to the original COVID-19, right? So if the variant was here, do you think that we would see it with the amount of testing we're doing, or do you have any issues with the amount of testing we're doing? Do we need to do more?
No, we're pretty good on testing. The question is, how are we going to test people? Again, we're testing them at when they come in at the quarantine station, and some people are requesting tests for when they leave. So the question is, do we have enough tests to open up the island to tourists and test everybody? And at this point, I don't think so, but I think they're working on something like that, not just here, but in other places as well. Testing people, and then figuring out how do we deal with, if you have been vaccinated, are you allowed to travel, et cetera, et cetera. So those things will kind of unfold in the next several months as we learn more. And yeah.
You talked about the supply chain issues with the vaccines, and those issues are happening, I know, nationally. But what do you know about the local impact?
Just that it is affecting us in terms of we haven't gotten the most recent shipments that were supposed to come in. I don't know. You'll have to ask somebody like Annette the details. I really don't have the details on that. Okay. But they say it's going to come in March. And so they're working on figuring out how to make sure people are getting their second shots and having this, staggered schedule continue. So, but I don't have the details. Sorry.
Right.
Not off the top of my head.
I understand. So basically we're at 9% of the population, you said? We need to vaccinate about 80%. of the population?
At least 80%. It could be more, it could be less. We just don't know.
Right.
And that's something that we'll probably figure out again as we go along when they see what happens with if there are people who, we'll just have to see.
Right.
We have to research.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that we're hitting these supply chain issues because I felt like Guam is really being heralded as one of the places where our vaccination effort is to be commended, right?
Wouldn't that be great if we could get special attention because we have these giant military bases here? I don't know. I'm sure that's something the governor is talking with people about, But yes, wouldn't we be a really great example because we are an island. Vaccinate everybody, and then see what happens.
Right. Or like I said, on the other side of it, they could be like, "Oh, Guam, they're good already. They got a lot of people vaccinated. Let's go give other people." Because they
right.
I mean, is that part of the? Do you know of that? I mean, it's kind of above your pay grade, I'm assuming. But do you know if that's part of the pitch that we're making? Like, hey, we got all these bases here. Give us some more shots.
Well, I know there was talk earlier about. I don't know if they have a separate supply for the DoD folks.
Right.
I don't, because there was talk early, maybe a month ago, about, gee, can we also vaccinate all the military? I really don't know. No, it's above my pay grade. You'd have to talk to the surgeon cell or the governor.
Right. Let me just ask you this though: with these supply chain issues, and we're talking about new vaccines coming down within the next couple months. Do you think that the release of these new vaccines, like the Johnson & Johnson or whatever, will help shore up some of these shortfalls?
I hope so. We all hope so. Yep.
Okay. Other than COVID, what else is on your radar?
The usual, TB. There's an undercount this year. We're looking at the annual numbers for everything else. And tuberculosis, there's an undercount this year because we haven't been looking for it because we've been dealing with COVID. And of course, Hansen's disease, that always comes up, as well as STDs. Those two, the STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, and tuberculosis and Hansen's, they have their own separate programs because we see so much of it. Other things, we're compiling the morbidity reports from all of the last year as we speak. And of course, COVID's up there as one of the big ones. And we always see, we're just now got a case of flu at A and B in a child reported. There's salmonella. We just saw leptospirosis recently. Right. So we just keep on top of all of it, basically, and make sure there's nothing going on. But no dengue this year. So far, not since last March. It's been a year. And it's been so rainy, I'm surprised. But we did see a lot of leptospirosis. And that's pretty much it for now. And, of course, we're still doing COVID.
Right on.
Yep.
Okay. That's it?
Pretty much. It's not over yet. It's not.
Doc, so yeah, we're anticipating the announcement to return to PCOR 3 this afternoon. I guess I'll just give you the floor in closing. What's your word of advice to people as the territorial epidemiologist?
That this pandemic is not over, and you still need to follow the rules, and you still need to wear masks. And I know, if they open up restaurants and bars and, big events, maybe you still have to wear a mask. They're actually recommending double masking. I don't know.
I know.
Wear a surgical mask and then a cloth mask to protect yourselves. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see, because we still have to follow the rules about social distance. We still have to have safety protocols in place. People still need to stand 6 feet apart at the store and, the post office and all of that. So just keep being safe. It's not over yet. That's it.
There you go. Mic drop, guys. It ain't over yet. Okay. Be safe. Thank you, Dr. Ann.
Okay.
There you go. Dr. Ann Pobutsky, territorial epidemiologist. Appreciate her time. It's always good to have her on. 7:48. Let's go to the phones here. The link. Good morning, ma'am. You had a question?
Yes, I'm trying to find out if there's any